No. Good afternoon, good morning. If you are just joining us, we're just going to give it another minute or two for more participants to jump in, and then we will go ahead and kick it off and get started. All right, we will go ahead and jump right in. Thank you for joining us today for the November office hours. We've got our usual crew here today. My name is Kelsey Ovak. I'm the Senior Product Marketing Manager for Crew Control, and Scott Kavanaugh, our Product Manager for Crew Control, here to talk us through all of the updates and give you the live demo. Just a few quick reminders. If you have never joined us before, um, you have Zoom Q&A tools down in your Zoom toolbar, so feel free to drop any questions in as we're going along. We do have time set aside at the end to address any of those questions, and we can help you out. So take advantage of that and use those. We will share out a recording of the webinar after the recording processes and I get it posted. So that's usually later this afternoon. And then just a reminder to keep up with the insider that we send out every month, so that you can go ahead and get registered for our next office hours, which will be in January. So without further ado, I will go ahead and pass it over to Scott, and we will walk through the new feature updates.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? Really exciting. I feel like I say it every time, but really excited about these updates. We have some really big changes that came in place in the last 2 months, and a lot of really nice smaller ones. So we'll talk through some enhancements, and our topics would be customers. So customer list now has clickable locations. The billing tab on the customer record has a filter by locations and also additional fields that we've included to analyze your invoices. We've introduced a new concept called billing contacts, which adds another level to your customers to better handle maybe commercial businesses and oftentimes maybe where the billable customer is different than the contact that you're servicing for your work. In reporting, we've updated our work history report, similar theme, just making better improvements around properties. So you can filter now work history by location. Scheduling, we've got introduced customizable crew map colors, so you can set the color for your crew. Uh, Create reoccurring jobs from one-time jobs, so you can easily create maintenance work from a one-time service. Introduces project level checklists and worksheets, a way to extend a single job to a multi-day project, and another way to add a project visit quickly. And then finally, we're going to end it on some billing topics. We're going to show you how to copy items quickly. And then product groups was another big topic to handle flat rate pricing or your build kits. And at the end, we'll just go open it up for questions and answers. All right, so we'll dive right in here. So let me, oops, share my screen. All right. Here's my crew control calendar. And so the first one we're going to look at is the customer list, some improvements we've made. So last time we met, we showed that you can now search a customer by their location. So I'm going to search for property one here by the customer name, or sorry, the location property name. I can also search by that property address. So we kind of showed this before. What we've introduced is a clickable link to that property. So whenever you do find a match for the property, you can drill into the customer's property, and that customer record is now going to be quickly filtered to that property. So you'll see the work history for that property, the jobs that are scheduled for that property, any additional locations that don't apply for since it is one of the locate properties. And then we've introduced our billing tab has now a location filter, so you can see any invoices tied to that location. And then same with any opportunities and proposals out there. So back on the billing tab, that it was another change in kind of combination with the clickable filtering from the customer list is that you can now filter your invoices by property. I can remove that filter and get back to all invoices tied to the customer or specifically filter to the primary address of this customer. So similar theme. So customers now have a concept called a billing contact. And so what this is going to allow me to do, especially for anyone working with property management or commercial businesses, is that I can specify another billable customer. So here I can search a list of property management companies, or I can add a new one, just like you could for a customer. Billing contacts won't appear in your customer list. They're just going to be a separate entity that's tied to all of your sub customers in this case. So I'm going to go ahead and tie it to Woodford property here. Once I have a billing contact, all invoices will be addressed to that billing contact, and the customer will no longer receive them or defaulted. Their email address won't be defaulted on those invoices. I can go ahead and, if I want, maybe that sometimes there's cases we've heard where the property manager would be sent that invoice and they would approve it, and then you'd work to get paid by the property management company. There could be different workflows where you want it, or you could just remove any of the, customer from that correspondence. So really, Sarah Polk here would receive any job correspondence, and then Woodford Property Management would be anyone receiving the invoices. Same on the property management company. I could choose to include them on proposal emails because we've heard that they're not necessarily the ones approving a proposal. They're the ones, the AP team that's paying off the invoices after approval. But sometimes there's cases where you do include the billing contact on the proposals as well as invoices. And so we've given an option to do that as well. So I could check this on, and that email address will be defaulted on proposals as well as the customer. So I'll just go ahead and enable both of these options. Well, I'll turn this off because I kind of want you all to see how this looks when you're billing with Sarah Polk, and notice that Sarah Polk won't exist on these invoices. All right, so I'll go back and complete a job for Sarah Polk. And then from our work history report, when I go to invoice Sarah Polk's service, I'm going to have the invoice billed to this property management company. When I email it, the default will be the accounts payable for this billing contact, and Sarah Polk's email address won't appear here unless I've opted her in. And you can also manually include anyone on this invoice, but by default, the billing contact is going to be the billable customer in this case. So we'll go ahead and send an email. We'll just go ahead and create this invoice here. So we'll take a look at now Sarah Polk, now that she has been tied and linked to a parent billing contact company, that's available in the list. I can search by that company name and see any properties or customers tied to this billing contact. So Woodford Property Management here. So when I click into the billing contact, it's going to be very similar to the customer page, but have just a very slimmed down version of a customer. So I'm going to see a new tab, receives bills from. This is going to be any properties, any of your customers that are linked to the property management company. And sometimes customers are properties, sometimes they're your property managers in this case. Sometimes, maybe it's another family member that's owns the property, but a separate family member um, handles the bills. So I'll see anyone tied, any customers tied to this property management company, and then I'll see all billing across all sub-customers, especially with just any historical invoices. They're just going to roll up automatically when you start to link the customers together, and you'll have a more robust uh, way of filtering and seeing invoice history for that property management company holistically. Same with the outstanding balance. You'll see the outstanding balance for the billing legal entity now. So your parent company rather than each sub customer. Location filter is going to allow me to search filter by the customer or any of its additional properties. So we've got three layers. We've got that billing contact. Your customer is usually a property management company, and they're usually managing set properties. And so I can filter down to anything that wasn't tied specifically to, essentially maybe the easier way to explain it, just all properties across all customers will be here. So you can filter and target any invoices that you're looking for. Our search, I kind of hit on this earlier. We did integrate, um, e- enhance our billing tabs across the customer pages to show the PO number. So it's especially important for property management. And you can filter and search by that PO number to find those quickly. That pretty much covers billing contacts. There's a lot of ways and different scenarios folks will utilize it, but mainly in commercial, working with commercial customers. But there's other cases where that's not the case. Um, on a similar thing, we're going to move over to reporting changes now. Our work history report has the ability to search by location. So let's do that property one. Maybe I can find it here. Yeah, so property one, I'm able to filter right to that property and see any work for that property. It should be by address or name. I think the combination's causing me a little grief there, but if I type in that address, I'll see all work history that's either completed or upcoming based on your filter settings here tied to that property. So nice enhancement just to kind of quickly see what's been performed at that location and any performance details from your team. All right, so that covers really the billing contact and some reporting. So we'll move on to some scheduling related topics. When we go to manage crews, um, crews now you have the ability to customize their map color. So I'm gonna go ahead and change this to like a light green or a light blue here. And what's that? What's that? That's going to affect your map calendar, which is under this icon here, either in week mode or day mode. So go back to week mode since I have some jobs here. So when I click into the calendar, that's the color that's going to appear here. What we've found is that some of our default colors are very closely matched, and so it's hard to schedule from the map and know which jobs and which scheduled jobs are for which technician or crew. So this just gives you a way to add a little bit more variety and allow you to distinctly manage these better from a map. Some other scheduling options is I'll just go ahead and recreate this single job to get this staged up. Let's say we're performing a repair and it's turned into a regular maintenance. I can copy this job now and add a reoccurring job for Sarah Polk and reconfigure it for a maintenance service and reschedule it out. And so that's just going to be a quicker way than just having to create a recurring job and adding the customer, adding some details. You could just quickly rearrange it based on a service that was performed. On top of that, we've introduced a way to extend a one-time job into a multi-day job or project. So you'll just hit this extend option from the uh, job setup here, and it's going to turn this job into a project. Any checklists or worksheets that were tied to that single job, we've introduced a project worksheet and project checklist, and it's going to convert into checklists that'll be performed across all visits of the project and worksheets that can be performed and accessed across all visits of that project. So I'll go ahead and we've seen a couple reasons why you might need a multi-day project. Maybe you have two technicians working the same job at the same time. So I would schedule that on the same day, same time. And then how a project will work is it's going to be a single invoiceable job or slash project with multiple visits. So any billing details here that I've added to this project, like let's say we're doing an installation, I'll do a glass install of $5,000 across two visits. It's just going to be a $5,000 job and show up in the work not invoiced as one single billable item. Versus if you copy that job, it's going to create another $5,000 install for the other technician. And then we've seen cases where you might accidentally double invoice that customer. And then instead of um, linking those completed jobs to one invoice and updating the pricing. So seeing some mistakes is going to really help, in those cases where you do run into another day, or in the cases you are working with a larger project, a larger installation, you need to quickly schedule those across your team. And I'll just show you, we kind of went through like a scenario where you have two technicians on the same job but different visits. And I can also add another day for technician one here for the similar time. And I'll hit save. And this is just gonna, work with our existing project functionality. And what we've introduced is when you edit that project, you can adjust or add those checklists at a project level as well as a visit level. So I can add worksheets. There's cases where your worksheets might be different. So you're performing service one and service two on two separate visits. Checklists might be different as well. So this would be a way you could add visit level checklists, visit level worksheets. But you could also, if it's one job that extended another day, it's probably the same checklist, the same worksheet that you just need to complete. And we introduce that project level capability to support that scenario. There is going to be on, I won't go through just for the sake of time, I won't go through the technician app, but there will be a distinction. You'll see your crew leads, technicians will see the project worksheets and any visit worksheets. They will have to complete a visit worksheet in order to complete that service. They will be allowed to move on to another visit without completing a project level checklist or worksheet, but they'll have to complete the worksheet at the end by the last visit and the checklist at the last visit for any project level checklists or worksheets. So that's how that works. A little complicated, but hopefully, as you extend jobs, it's kind of set up and configured in the right way. On top of that, we've introduced another way for any projects that are scheduled to quickly add a visit, just using that add visit option. It's very similar to editing a project and scrolling down to add a visit, but it's just a more slimmed down way to add a visit and um, add more details. You can kind of add your specific checklists, your worksheets, and any instructions to that visit without having to do a multi-step process there. So hopefully slim that down, make it a little quicker to even extend your projects even further out. All right, so that covers mainly our scheduling topics. We'll get into products and services now, so our billing items. So if you can navigate to product and services, this is something if you're not connected to QuickBooks, you'll have this page. We've introduced a copy feature where we oftentimes find folks, especially working with heavy materials, different size parts. So I can quickly copy, a half inch valve, make it a quarter inch valve here, and have very similar details and descriptions and images without having to start from scratch. So hopefully this gives us just a way to really get your price book up and running quickly when your parts just vary by one small detail. The other big topic is product groups. If you're connected to QuickBooks, you'll see product groups listed in your settings. Otherwise, if you're not connected to QuickBooks, it'll be part of your products and services page here. When I click into product groups allows you to, bundle items, group items together and build either flat rate priced bundles or kits or builds where they're individually itemized so you could just quickly invoice several items by selecting one option. So I'm going to show you the different configurations without working through that. There's a video that walks through just step by step on how you set up your groups. But let's look at a repair kit that I've created. Um, this one's going to include an itemized list of my products and services. It's going to add the labor. It'll add the valve, the tape here, the material parts whenever I choose this repair kit. It's just going to pop them in just like a template would. When it's not included, this is going to be a flat rate priced service. So valve replacement here will be a service. I've categorized it as a service and it's already accounting for labor, um, any materials, and it has that total price. So it's going to be flat rate presented to the customer just as one single item. And also we can provide an image for that service. So I'll go ahead and show you what that valve replacement looks like versus a repair kit. Copy this when we go to bill. When I create an invoice and I choose valve replacement, it's just going to be, like I said, just that one flat price that built in that labor, it built in your items. That's all priced based on their costs. So it's going to have a nice flat rate way of adding a service based on your materials and labor. When I add the repair kit, it's just gonna give me a quick way to build an invoice with itemized. And you could get kind of crafty with this. So maybe there's cases where this turned into a different part. So maybe it just helps get you up and running, and you could still have the option to hide and item prices and hide certain items to build that flat rate again. So this gives you just like a little more advanced way to quickly build an invoice for standard services that you itemize, or a way to, reconfigure a flat rate service on the fly. Couple options there, but really ups the game here on both just building your standard services or building kits and bundles really quickly that you can invoice as fast as possible that are priced right. So again, that video covers all of this that we talked through in office hours. So take a look at that. Um, with that said, that's pretty much everything we've worked on the last 2 months. Again, if you have any suggestions or ideas for improvements, throw that in the idea portal. Also, regularly review that, vote on any items that are out there. It gets updated literally every day. So it really just helps us know what's important to you all. And then if you need any support, any issues, immediate troubleshooting help, contact our support team using that support option. With that said, I'll open it up for questions and answers.
Perfect. Thank you, Scott. We will give it just a couple minutes. If any questions do come in, we didn't have any pop into the Q&A or the chat during the demo. So just we'll go over some reminders and while we give you a chance to see if you have any questions. Um, I'll share out the recording for this later today directly to your email. Um, Keep a lookout for the next office hours notification. You can find that in the um, in-app Pendo notifications as we approach the next one in January. And then just staying up to date with our insider emails where we talk through the releases um, and provide you that link to register for the next one. So um, still no questions coming in yet, but we do appreciate you jumping on with us today and hope that you have a wonderful Thanksgiving next week if you celebrate. Um, all right, and we've got our first question. When selecting a date to add a job to the schedule, you now have to click on the date twice. Just started that last week. Maybe a maybe a bug, it looks
Could
like.
be a bug. So I would contact support if it's something you notice that's different than what you've seen in the past. And I'll just go ahead and I believe this might be a time-based schedule here. So I click once. Um, I'm not seeing anything. So I'd say file support ticket. We'll take a look. It could be something, we've seen things with that work differently on Safari, maybe mobile. We'll take a look. Yeah, we don't want you clicking twice to schedule a job, so we'll get a little bit more details and go from there.
Perfect. Thanks, Scott. Um,
Thank you.
um, any other questions for Scott uh, today? Give that just another minute.
Yeah, it's also crazy to say the next step we'll have this is next year, and that's coming up fast. So that's wild.
Yes, Scott, you will have Holly back for hosting those at that time. Alrighty. Well, you will have my email later on today. If you think of any questions in the meantime, you can feel free to reply directly to that. I'll help you out and get Scott involved as needed. If you do have any questions about today's release, or like Scott said, if you have any pressing items that seem like issues, go ahead and file that support ticket. But looks like we are good to probably wrap up for the day. So thank you again for joining us, and we will see you next year.
All right, see y'all. Thank you.